It's a great joy for me to be with you this morning, to be invited to speak about that great mystery that you and I are the beloved sons and daughters of God. When Jesus was baptized, there was this voice that spoke to him. And that voice that said, "You are my beloved. On you my favor rests." And that is you and I have to hear too. Because Jesus came to let you know that you are as beloved as he is. And therefore the great challenge is to listen to that voice that calls you who you truly are, that calls you the beloved. And in this service I would very much like you to be good listeners, to listen to the voice that calls you the beloved. That's what prayer is all about. It might be interesting for you to know this is just a play with words, but the word listening in Latin is audire. That's what that word means. And if you listen with great attention, it's called obaudire. That's where the word obedience comes from. An obedient person is someone who can listen to the voice who calls him the beloved. And if you're deaf, you know the Latin word for deaf is surdus. And if you're absolutely deaf, you're absurdus. That's where the word absurd comes from. Now the question is, can you move from a life of absurdity to a life of obedience? That is, from a life in which you can hear the voice, but you cannot hear the voice, and you get all distracted, and you lose touch with who you are. You start thinking, I am what I do, I am what other people say about me, I am what I have. All these false voices that makes your life absurd. And can you gradually start listening to that gentle, soft, whispering voice that says, Mary, John, Francis, Peter, you are my favorite daughter. You are my favorite son. Believe it and live from that conviction, and your life will be different. It's a story about the mountain. It's about a mountain. And Jesus went up to the mountain and spent the whole night in communion with God. In communion with God. Listening to the voice who calls him the beloved. And early in the morning he came down, and when he came down he called his disciples and formed community. 12 apostles. He called them each by name. Peter and John and James and Andrew. You are my friends with whom I, the beloved, are forming community. And in the afternoon he went off with his community on the plains and spoke the words of healing, touched people and cared for those who are poor. Called ministry. Communion community and ministry are the three disciplines to discover the voice that calls you the beloved. I tell you honestly, my life is usually very different. I want to do it by my own ministry. If it doesn't work, I call some people to help me out, and if that doesn't work, I start to pray. But Jesus starts to spend the night with God. And what are disciplines? Discipline is the human effort to create some open space where you can hear the voice speaking to you. And the world in which we live wants to fill up every place, wants you to be occupied, and if you're not occupied, you are preoccupied. That is, occupied before you're even there. That's what we call worrying. The great philosopher Spinoza said there is a horror vacui, a fear for emptiness in our life. We want to fill up everything. We want always to have something to do, something to go to, something to be busy with. Discipline is to keep some space open, some space empty, so that God can say, Mary, John, don't you know I love you? Why don't you just relax? I can touch you and hug you and be with you. But the first discipline is communion. You know, do you ever spend 10 minutes doing nothing? That's hard. You're not listening to the radio, not watching television, not reading the paper, it's very hard to sit down on your chair and do nothing. You know, before you know, you feel that your head is like a banana tree full of monkeys running around. I should do this, I should do that, I have to write a letter, I have to go here, I forgot that, I'm still angry at this person, I should have done that, I didn't do that, and before you know, your whole mind is there. So you get busy again, so not to have to deal with all these inner monkeys. Jesus says, stay there. Because underneath all these wild voices, there is a gentle, soft voice that says, you are my beloved. Listen to that voice. Please try to spend a little of your time every day to listen to the one who so much wants your attention, so you will hear who you truly are. And you can do that just by sitting on your chair or outside, and maybe you can take the gospel of the day and read it and then look at it like a picture and be there so that it can enter into your heart. And as you drive to your work and you're in your busy office and you're working in the store or do whatever, that voice is there with you. You are the beloved. But you need to spend some time with God alone so He can tell you who you are.